Over the course of today's discussions, we have heard a great deal about the opportunities and challenges of the maritime energy transition. Presenters have highlighted the persistent barriers around alternative fuels, including viability, infrastructure development, as well as cost and scalability, but also the benefits and cost savings potentials of energy efficiency. We have also heard how the regulatory picture, rather than providing clarity, has in some respects become harder to assess. Following last year's MEPC outcome, many organizations found themselves in a holding pattern, with new timelines difficult to interpret and a degree of uncertainty that has made forward planning more challenging. Taken together, this creates a demanding backdrop for management teams. Decisions have to be made in an environment where the direction of travel is broadly understood, but the practical implications remain unclear. Long-term commitments must be weighted against operational realities, capital allocation, and the risk of acting too early or too late. This raises some fundamental questions for senior management at shipping companies. How do we take strategic decisions in terms of high uncertainty? How much can realistically be planned for, and where can we build in flexibility? And how do organizations continue to move forward when regulatory signals temporarily put parts of the industry on pause? Now, to explore these issues, we are joined by two senior leaders to delve into how they approach these challenges from their perspectives on a day-to-day basis. We will try to focus less on what should happen in theory and more on how decisions are actually being made in practice when certainty is limited but momentum still matters. It's my pleasure and honor to introduce our guests, Smriti Sharma, Global Director, Strategy, Sustainability and Enterprise Risk Management, AD, and Anotonis Georgantzis, Chief Operating Officer, Latsco Marine Management. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me first kick off with a question to both of you. From your vantage points, does the uncertainty we are dealing with today feel like a temporary phase, or has it become the new normal for maritime leadership? And how does that shape the way in which you make decisions? Maybe we can start with Anotonis first.
Yes, Cristina, thank you. Cannot really say that the uncertainty has been a temporary phase. It's been several years now that the whole industry has been looking at various solutions for improving the vessel's efficiency or seeking alternative fuels to propel our ships. Over the last decade, significant improvements have been made in the shipping industry across a broad spectrum and disciplines, driven by the need to reduce energy consumption and subsequently to cut our emissions. We at Latsco have been working from very early on to improve our vessel's performance and optimize the designs within the envelope of the available technology. We do not really support the first mover approach, and we want to make our decisions based on available, tested, and reliable technology. We are not supporters either of the one solution fits all approach for shipping, and we aim for solutions that best fit the specific ship type, size, and trade. We continue with this strategy by working closely with top-tier shipbuilders, utilizing several optimization solutions and various energy-saving devices. We have invested in dual-fuel solutions on high-value vessels, such as LNGs and big LPGs, where we consider it reasonable and prudent to do so, given the cargo usage as fuel and the relatively small ratio of additional capex investment against the vessel's value for making it DF. On the contrary, we have selected conventional solutions for other ship types and opted for ESDs, digital solutions, optimized power plants, shaft generators, reliq plants, sizing, waste heat recovery solutions that overall result in significant savings over standard designs offered from shipbuilders. Smaller vessels like MRs or Ultramaxes and Handys are built for a reason. They visit and serve remote places where the available infrastructure is very basic to support any alternative fuel supply possibility currently and for sure for the years to come. At the same time, the additional capex required for upgrading, for example, an MR tanker to an LNG dual fuel currently stands in the region of 12 to 15 million, depending on the main engine solution you have, and the Type C tanks for the LNG fuel. This figure in today's money represents more or less 1/3 of the vessel's value, and given the level of regulatory uncertainty, cannot justify such decision. On the contrary, it could make sense on highly value ships like VLCCs and big containers that the level of additional investment is proportionally significantly lower against the vessel value, while the trade pattern of such vessels could provide access to alternative fuels in the near and not so distant future. We need to highlight as well that any such investment in dual fuel solutions requires ample time and money to invest on, train people, develop the needed competence and skills, both for crew members as well for the office personnel. For Latsco, has been a 5-year journey for coming to the point that we may say with confidence that we have achieved a satisfactory level of performance of the LPG as a fuel.
Thank you, Anotonis, for sharing. Very interesting, and I fully agree that shipping is a very diversified industry, and one solution doesn't fit all. Thank you for sharing. Smriti, what about AT?
Yeah. So look, from a shipping industry perspective, I don't think shipping industry is a stranger to uncertainty, right? As ship owners and operators, we continue to operate in this very volatile environment, and it's almost part of our DNA. But I think in today's climate, what makes this uncertainty a bit more amplified is how interconnected all these drivers of uncertainty are, and the pace at which all these disruptions are unfolding, and how difficult it is to isolate one source of uncertainty from another. And just to give you an example, for example, fleet renewal decisions are so intertwined with geopolitics, sanctions, regulatory shifts, supply chain dynamics. So when we look at uncertainty, it's no longer a single variable moving at a time. In fact, everything is moving and everything is interconnected. So to answer your second question, how do we make decisions? Well, you can't wait for all stars to align, right? Because they rarely do. And I think at AET, what is very important for us to have a very clear conviction, for example, when it comes to decarbonization. For us, it's very simple. Decarbonization makes business sense. We have a very clear value proposition for our customers of providing value and quality assets. We provide quality services, safety of operations. And when we look at all of this, when we make decisions at AET, it's very important to have some level of risk tolerance, So how much downside we can realistically manage in our investments, but at the same time, how much strategic upside do our decisions, for example, in DF technologies, unlocks. So when we look at all these criteria, at AET we move when we see that the risks are manageable, the direction of travel is somewhat clear, but the choices that we make give us that flexibility so that when the landscape shifts, we are not locked into one decision that we've made. So I think that's how we look at uncertainty and how we make decisions at AET.
Thank you, Smriti, and fully agree. It's what we say in DMV, that we are against some tectonic shifts with uncertain geopolitical landscape and market, the regulatory part and the technology, right, and how all those are intertwined. Thank you for sharing. Building on both of your answers, since the MEPC October adjournment, have you seen any new or different signals from the market or from your customers? And have those signals led your respective companies to adjust or actually rethink the course of action? Maybe back to you, Anotonis.
Yeah. Following the IMO adjournment in October, we have seen a slowdown on the DF orders for vessels that are not gas carriers or large container ships, indicating a more conservative approach from the shipping industry and the need to be sure that such additional investments on dual fuel vessels will be favored by a regulatory framework. We have seen owners that had invested on large tankers and large bulk carriers on dual fuel LNG solutions to return back to shipyards for conventional orders, indicating very clearly that there's a change of strategy. For us at Latsco, we maintain this strategy, explained earlier, until a clear and specific regulatory framework will be in place. If that in the future will require the adoption of alternative fuels, we will always be able to retrofit our existing fleet, given the experience and expertise we have gained from the operation of our gas ships.
Thank you. Smriti, what about you?
Yeah, I do agree with Antonis on this. Cristina, if you just look at the order book that we have today, you see alternative fuel capable vessels, and I'm talking about crude tankers, is 14.4% of the global order book. And if we could just compare it to 2024, it was 20%. So if we just look at these percentages, we can see a clear slowdown in commitments for future fuel tonnage. So to me, that reflects that we are at a point in time where the industry is recalibrating after the MEPC delay. So potentially, other ship owners are becoming more conscious about locking themselves in a single pathway or a fuel system. So at 80, we believe that the industry will have a shift towards a more pragmatic way of looking at decarbonization. And some of that we are seeing in our customer conversations as well. So, for example, the latest customer conversations that we are having, it's about how do we make the investments, for example, that AET has made in DF technologies more equitable in terms of risk and reward. So working with our customers in that space. So there is a growing interest within our customers, for example, where there is an option for them to preserve their flexibility. But at the same time, there is some traction that we are seeing, for example, in profit sharing models for these DF ships, options for fuel cost sharing, pay as you save models for DF technologies. So what it does for owners such as AET, where we are very much driven by the future, where we want to future-proof our fleet, where we want to see and reduce the risk of stranded assets, for example, we see that this is a way for us to share the decarbonization benefits with the customers while still generating some meaningful returns on our DF investments. So you see these models or these conversations with customers are there because they match the moment. So it is about allowing progress without locking in assumptions that may change in the future. So I think this is how we are seeing probably the conversations with customers changing. But at AET, we continue to be driven by decarbonization. We continue to be driven by a conviction in this space.
Thank you, Smriti, and very interesting. I'm very glad to see that there's progress in those, maybe business models, and I guess, building, as you say, pragmatism and flexibility, right, of what how the future might look like.
Yeah.
So that's great to hear. I'm going to stay with you, Smriti, because AET has publicly committed, right, to long-term decarbonization targets and invested in dual fuel pathways such as LNG today and ammonia looking ahead. From an operational and strategic standpoint, how do you decide when to move ahead with this kind of investments, and when does it make more sense to actually pause and preserve some optionality?
Right. A very, very meaningful question, Cristina. So, you know that AET has been on this energy transition journey for almost 10 years now. When we ordered our first LNG DF ships, at AET, we firmly believe in our net zero 2050 targets. Today, AET has about 13 existing DF ships. We have 4 on order book, and we have 3 ammonia DF ships on order as well. So collectively, we have about 17 DF ships, both existing and in the pipeline. So almost 100%, not almost, in fact, 100% of our order book is alternative fuel. So when we look at the decisions, I think there are 3 things that clearly stand out when we look at our investments. So one is very important, is the customer and market alignment, right? I mean, that's where we are here. We are here to serve our customers. And throughout our journey at AET, we have built these very deep, long-standing relationships with our customers. And we believe that these partnerships are quite key in terms of how we develop our future products and services. And we advance in our investments when we see very clear contracted demand from the charterers that supports our business case. And we recognize that such investments does require an appropriate level of risk on our side, and of course, obviously, a return of an appropriate, reward of an appropriate level as well. So that's the first, making sure that, we are working closely with our customers and there is a product that helps them meet their needs. The second is, of course, technology and ecosystem readiness. So LNG is a mature ecosystem. It has proven engines, bunkering infrastructure, safety frameworks. So that allows us to invest with confidence. Ammonia is progressing, and we are tracking very closely, improvement in the safety, regulations, bunkering, infrastructure availability, and OEM timelines as well, to make sure that we are able to deliver these vessels to our customers. And the third very important part is the risk management and future proofing. So when we invest, we invest with that whole point that we want to reduce the risk of stranded assets in the future. We want to keep multiple future pathways open, and DF technologies are central to that approach because they allow us to operate efficiently today, and while at the same time we are preparing for tomorrow. LNG is a very good example in this case, and how we are kind of future proofing our assets. It's available at scale today, and it can evolve into a zero carbon solution over time. So there is a potential of LNG, infrastructure developing, and it is in many ways already happening towards bio LNG and ultimately towards eLNG. So there is a pathway available, which is credible and flexible as well. So for us, when we have to make choices, we do want to avoid locking ourselves into highly uncertain outcomes. So we work with solutions where there is credibility, where we are working closely with the customers, and where we again make sure that we can manage the risk and have strategic upside for these decisions.
Thank you, Smriti. Changing a little bit from the decarbonization topic and more into the digitalization, right? And the development of those type of technologies. Anotonis, Latsco has placed a strong emphasis on digitalization, right? And data-driven operations. In a period of high uncertainty, as we are living now, investing heavily in technology can feel risky for some. How can digitalization help bridge the gap between those long-term decarbonization ambitions and the day-to-day operation decision-making? And do you see some specific technologies or solutions as really sound investments today, regardless of how the regulation will evolve?
It is true. It is true that we have heavily invested in digitalization and targeted on having data-driven decision-making over the last years. We have been privileged enough to have all our ships built to our specifications from top-tier shipbuilders and selected makers of the highest quality. We specify our ships from the contract stage with enhanced onboard sensor coverage, thus enabling high volume and high accuracy data acquisition. Data collection systems are installed and enable data transmission ashore for achieving online monitoring for the onboard of processes and operations. We have established a dedicated department within the company, comprising from highly skilled, highly educated and competent personnel that is responsible for the performance monitoring of the fleet. Infrastructure for the necessary collection, processing and data visualization has been set up for several years now. Data integrity, being of the highest importance, had to be ensured. So we aimed for an independent third-party verifier, an accreditation body, certifying our processes for making sure that everything we do is right and correct. In-house software applications have been developed for monitoring and evaluating the vessel's energy demand, environmental performance, versus the optimum operation of the vessel for the given moment. Data-driven preventive and corrective actions like underwater cleaning, power plant operation, shaft generator utilization, and so many others are all resulting into significant savings, but also contributing for changing the mindset of the crew members and people on board on how the system and the vessel should be operated. KPIs have been established and visualized, both ashore and on board, for providing real-time decision-making. Such developments have also benefited further the company by enabling us to have real-time CII performance monitoring, as well as our exposure to EU ETS and Fuel EU. Of course, as part of this journey, our company's processes and procedures had to be amended and re-engineered for adopting this new way of operation, having seamless and automated workflows and eventually improving our efficiencies. Through this journey, we have established partnerships with major manufacturers and classification societies with a goal to move away from the traditional way of doing things and take advantage of the technological achievements that enable us to guide our specialized resources where is mostly needed and produce the highest value for the company. Coming to your question on bridging the gap between long-term decarbonization ambitions and day-to-day operational decision-making, the way we have developed our systems and processes provide the basis for a continuous improvement of our operations, not only on the hardware, the vessel and the systems, but also on the software, the people, changing the mindsets, moving away from non-optimized practices that all of us tend to follow by habit, simply because we found them that way. If I can say, if I'm allowed to say, it assists breaking the eggs and becoming more efficient and effective through change. Regarding the point of certain technologies being sound investments, regardless on how the regulatory framework develops and evolves, we would certainly support digitalization ESDs of proven performance for the specific ship type, size, and trade, and selectively consider proven and reliable dual fuel capabilities for high-value vessels. We would not support at this stage some of the exotic solutions that have recently emerged into the market and are not yet proven on a large-scale basis.
Thank you so much. And I fully agree that I think to adopt these new solutions and technologies, partnerships and working with other relevant stakeholders in the industry make a lot of sense. Now, we are getting close to an end, but I would like to hear both of your views before that on looking at the next year, next 12 months. Do you expect more clarity, particularly around the IMO's direction, or are management teams just likely to still be navigating a similar level of uncertainty? And in addition, more importantly, what does meaningful certainty actually look like from your perspective? Maybe we can start with you, Smriti, and then over to you, Anotonis.
Sure. Thank you. So, look, if you see the conversations in the past 6 months, conversation around carbon pricing and climate policy has hardened, that trend is likely to continue this year. So especially if you just look at IMO net zero framework, and if you're going to get any certainty around that, I don't think so. So you see the whole truth about shipping is that we continue to operate in a very uncertain environment. So I think that certainty will be there. It'll continue to be a very uncertain world. But at AET, I think look, one kind of certainty that truly matters in this environment, at least for us, is that, again, we work closely with our customers. We know what our customers want. We continue to strengthen the relationship that underpins our business, continue to work with our partners, with our employees and our crew at sea. So I think the whole certainty is about delivering and continue to deliver at AET a value proposition that meets our customers' needs, continue to operating safely and reliably. And I think that's very important, the certainty around that, continue to operate our operations with full safety, reliability. At the same time, we continue to invest in assets that offer flexibility and optionality as well. And we spoke about the DF investments that we have made. And for us, we continue to make decisions for the long term. So yes, I mean, in the short and medium term, uncertainty, a lot of hurdles, but we are here for the long game. We are here for multi-decades. For our products, continue to offer that. So I think that's important. At the same time, again, for AET, we are very much focused to continue to strengthen our balance sheet, continue to operate with the pedigree that's required to deliver consistently in this very complex environment. And I think that's the kind of certainty we can control. And I think that's the kind we are committed to delivering.
Thank you so much, Smriti. I think very good points on, continue to deliver what your customer wants and certainly not compromising on quality and safety. Antonis, back to you very quickly. What's your view on that?
After October, we have been listening to many and very diverse views on the future of NZF, depending on which part of the world the voices are coming from. I think today we cannot be in a position to know if this will be adopted or not, and if it does, what will be the requirements that will follow. Until then, we navigate based on the strategy already explained earlier, and we invest in technologies and solutions that will deliver high efficiency gains, irrespective of the fuel in use, providing proven certainty. We cannot base our decisions made today and subsequent investments, especially considering the level of CapEx involved for some of those, to an uncertain and undecided regulatory framework. So we continue along these lines.
Thank you so much. Thank you both for a very open and insightful discussion. I think we could have stayed with this interesting discussion for hours. But we need to leave it and start closing up. And thank you for sharing as well how decisions are really being made at management level and not just like how they look on paper. It's been extremely valuable to hear both the strategic and operational perspectives in a time where certainty is limited, but action is still needed. And with that, I'll hand it back to Anne and Jason in the studio. Thank you.
Thank you, Cristina.
Thank you.
Thank you, Antonis. Thank you.